Hello, everyone. So, today I want to continue the story of my journey to home. However, we're going to take a little detour from talking about the home that's the physical home, the house. And we will come back to that because there are a lot more renovations to get to. But I want to take a moment to talk about the other part that makes a home for me, and that's family. Whether it's your family that you're born into or your chosen family, for me, family is what makes a home a home. And that has changed for me throughout the years. My first family, my first home actually consisted of my great grandmother, my mom, and my dad and I. And I was a teensy little baby. Like, that was the family that I was born into, as far as the family that lived in the same house with me. And then, really, during my earlier years, that really had a big influence on my life. Um, of course, I don't remember much about that home because I was a baby. However, I am blessed to have had a relationship with my great grandmother that lasted until she passed. And of course, with my mom and my dad. And I'm grateful that as I grew up, my grandmother was such my great grandmother. Let me be more specific. My great grandmother, and this was my mom's grandmother actually. She played such a big role in my life, and it was such a big. It was just such. It was just so great to have her in my life. I remember, even when my mom and my dad and we moved out because we lived with her for a time when I was a baby, and then we lived a couple of other places. Um, but one thing that was consistent is I spent a lot of time with my great grandmother, and I would spend the night with her sometimes. And I remember uh, when I would actually get off of I would go to school when I started school, and I would get off the school bus at her house, and she would keep me until my mom and my dad got off from work, unless I spent the night, because I spent a lot of time with her because I just love my great grandmother. She was like one of my first best friends. And I remember when I would get off the school bus, she would have my snacks ready. And I ate a lot of carrots. Carrots was my jam when I was growing up. And she would have the carrots cut up and chopped up for me, and I would sit and watch my little shows right after school. And it was just a warm home. It was home because she was so warm. She was so loving. She was so kind. And she created this, she assisted in creating this atmosphere of growth for me, for learning. The shows that I did watch when I got off of the bus, they were learning shows. And she would tell stories to me. I remember we would go in, she had like the most beautiful grass in her yard. It reminded me of carpet as a little child. And we would walk. I like being barefoot. Might just be the Southern girl in me or whatever, but I love being barefoot. And we would walk outside barefoot, and that grass just felt so soft under my feet. And we would lie in the grass and look up in the sky and look at the clouds and imagine what we would see in the clouds. And she taught me how to use my imagination and appreciate nature and the world that we live in. And I'm grateful for that. It's probably another reason why I still love being barefoot to this day. As you can see, I have my plants behind me, and yes, they are named. And even looking out the window, you can see there's a lot of trees because we're surrounded by woods. I like the outdoors. I like nature. And so does my husband. It's a blessing to have that as well. As far as the people that have been a part of my family, my great grandmother was, and we used to call her Little Mama. She was so much a home for me. And not just a home away from home. I felt like I was at home whenever I was around her. Even when my dad and my mom and I moved away, being around her just felt like home. It was home. And it wasn't that my mom and my dad wasn't home, because they were home too. So much home for me. And I just remember, as far as being a young child, really appreciating the home that I felt that I was when I was around her. And it was different from the home that I felt when I was around my parents. Now, the home that I felt when I was around my parents, it was also full of love and joy. And I'm really blessed to have had really good examples of home in my life. I've been really blessed to have a great example of what home looks like, of what family looks like, and to have experienced a really great family. It's a blessing because it has given me a better foundation, I believe, of not making all the unnecessary things that, well, I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but there are some things that seem a little unnecessary for me to create a home. I find home in some of the simpler things in life, okay? If you find home in other things, that's you. But for me, I find home in the simple things. I find home in the love of those that I call family. And however they give that to me. My mom, she had this way of just making everyone feel like you were the most important person in the world. And accepting all of her kids for who they were, making time for each and every one of us. And she just had this way of pouring out love on people. And she was just, I used to love picking on her because she was just so sweet. I used to say a lot, she was like sweet, so sweet, like ice cream and cake with sprinkles and hot fudge and cotton candy and all the other sweetness on top. That's how sweet my mom was, and that's just who she was. As long as you didn't mess with her family. So for the most part, that's how you would see my mom. Just a bundle of joy. Not that she didn't have frustrations in life, or that things didn't hurt her feelings. But for the most part, she was just so full of joy. And so from her, home has to have joy and love. And so as I adopt people because we're the type of family where we just bring in people. You ain't gotta be blood to be family with us. That's just how I was raised. And when I say that, I mean like family. And so as I adopt people to be part of my family, as I've gone through life, I look for those people who give me peace and that comfort that my grandmother gave me. I look for people who give me that joy and that love that my mom gave me, or the wisdom that my dad gave me. And then I look for people that I can provide that to as well. Because any home isn't just what someone else brings to the home, but what do you bring as well? So I've learned these things from them, and I've accepted and embraced those things in them. And I also try to be those things as well. The other thing about home is that home changes throughout the years. The home that you had in one season might not be the same home that you need in another season. And this can be physically, like there was a season where my apartment was my home. There was a season where my great grandmother's house was my home, where my parents' house was my home when I was growing up. And there was a season where I lived in a house that was my home. And now that I'm married, my husband and I have had a couple different physical homes that we've lived in. And there's also changes in your family home as you go throughout life. Like I mentioned before, my first home was like my great grandmother, my dad and my mom. And then my mom and my dad and I that was our unit. Now, one thing I also want you to know is that I have tons of cousins and aunts and uncles. And I don't want to exclude them, but I'm just talking about that core part of my family that I saw on a regular basis. Because there's also a joy that I get from being around them as well. And it's amazing to be blessed with such a great extended family. And over the years, I remember when my brother was born. And so my family of 3 went to a family of 4. And then my great aunt, I guess. She was technically my grandmother's aunt, or my great grandmother's sister. Okay. She came and lived with us for a while, and she was part of our home until she passed on. And then my sister, we gained my sister, and so our home has changed over the years. And then she got married. And so her husband came a part of our family, and her kids, my nephews. And so families change over the years. Your home changes over the years. And one of the things about dealing with the changes of what your home looks like is, first off, just embracing the change. Because change is going to happen. So you might as well embrace it. And another thing that I learned from my mom is how important it is to be intentional in your relationships. And that is just making sure that you're spending the time that you need to spend, giving the attention that you need to spend to certain relationships. It also means making sure that you celebrate those that are a part of your life. If they're special to you, and that's something that I've just learned through life too. If there is someone that is special to you, someone that is part of your home, someone that you love, don't wait and say, oh, I'll do this for them tomorrow if you can do it today. Because you never know if you'll have that opportunity again. Now, I understand, because once again, financial savvy. I understand wanting to save and do different things. But if you can tell someone that you love them, if you could do the simple things today, if you can make time today, things that time is precious, time does cost a lot, but in the financial sense, time is costly in the financial sense too. But it's important to give that time to those that you love, and so that you don't have any regrets. So that you're not the type of person where if something ever happens to someone that you're like, I wish I coulda, I shoulda, just live life and enjoy those that are part of your home now. So I encourage you today, if you haven't told someone that you love them, if you have people that you consider part of your home and you haven't made time for them lately, carve out a little time in your schedule and at least just say, hey, let them know that you love them, because it's important. Home is important.